The air was heavy that evening in Istanbul, the kind of weight that didn't come from the clouds, but from something else. Something unspoken. Something waiting to collapse. Can Yaman stood near Galata Tower, staring down the cobbled path that led toward the old cafe where they'd once sat for hours. His coat was soaked from the drizzle, but he didn't move. He didn't care. The cold didn't bother him, not tonight. Because she had promised. No matter what, I'll be there, Demet had said. And Can had believed her. He wanted to believe her. But it was already 7:12 p.m., and all he could hear was the sound of rain tapping the pavement. No footsteps. No voice. No sign of her. He sat on the wooden bench they used to share, the one that still held pieces of laughter in the cracks. His fingers curled around a small leather notebook, old, worn, with her initials scratched faintly into the back cover. It was the same notebook he used to write her little notes during filming, the same one he now used to write everything he couldn't say out loud. He opened it slowly. It hurts more to wait than to lose. Because waiting means there's still hope. Ken didn't know if he had hope anymore. He wasn't even sure why he came tonight. Maybe to prove something to himself. Maybe to say goodbye. But deep down, he knew, he still believed she might come. It had started as a normal day. Or as normal as any day could be for someone like Can Yaman, adored, chased, watched. But he didn't care about any of it today. His thoughts were tangled with the past. He had woken up with her in his mind. Not her face now, not the version the world knew. But the version only he remembered, hair a little messy, hoodie 3 sizes too big, coffee in hand, laughing at something that wasn't even funny. The Demet from before. Before silence grew between them. Before the camera stopped rolling but the tension didn't. Before us became was. He had reached out a week ago. A message. Simple. Careful. I'm going to be in Galata next Sunday. Around 7. Same place. If you want to talk. I'll wait. No reply. Not even a scene. But he sent it anyway. Because there was something unfinished. Not a breakup. Not a fight. Just absence. A slow, silent unraveling that neither of them admitted was happening, until one day, it already had. Back on the bench, Ken checked his phone. Again. No messages. No missed calls. Just the quiet glow of a screen that had once been filled with her name. He looked up, watching as a young couple passed by, laughing under a shared umbrella. He smiled faintly. That used to be them. Back when they didn't need excuses to see each other. Back when Istanbul felt smaller because they had each other. His smile faded. How did it come to this? He leaned back against the bench, eyes closing for a moment. And in the darkness behind his eyelids, she came alive again. Dancing barefoot on set, whispering inside jokes during interviews, slipping her hand into his when no one was watching. He remembered the night they wrapped their first series together. How she cried, how he held her, how they promised they wouldn't let this, whatever this was, fade. You're my safe place, she had whispered. Then don't run from me, he had replied. But time had its way. Fame pulled them in different directions. People talked. Headlines twisted truths. And neither of them said what needed to be said. Until there was nothing left to say. Or so he thought. 8:03 p.m. Still no sign of her. Ken stood up, walking slowly toward the edge of the street, where the rain had created tiny rivers down the curb. The sound of Istanbul filled the air, distant calls to prayer, horns, laughter from restaurants far away. He lit a cigarette. Not because he needed it. But because it gave his hands something to do, something to focus on besides shaking. He remembered the first time he realized he loved her. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't fireworks. It was a quiet morning on set. She had shown up late, hair wet from the rain, annoyed with herself, apologizing to everyone. And then she looked at him. Just looked. And that was it. That was the moment. He walked further now, past the little shop where she used to buy gum, past the mural they took selfies in front of. Everything in this part of Istanbul held a piece of him. A memory. A whisper. And now it all felt haunted. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a tiny folded photo, a Polaroid of the two of them, laughing in a dressing room, no makeup, no cameras, just them. He stared at it. "I thought you'd come back," he whispered. A gust of wind blew down the street, almost yanking the photo from his hand. He held it tighter. 9:11 p.m. A text came through. His heart leapt. But it wasn't from her. Just a producer. Something about an upcoming interview. He didn't even read the rest. He turned off his phone. She wasn't coming. He sat again. Same bench. Same silence. And finally, a tear. Just one. But enough. He didn't cry often. Not since her. Because she was the only one who had seen him break. And still stayed. Until she didn't. Suddenly, footsteps. He looked up, breath catching. A figure, walking fast, head down, umbrella swaying. It was a woman. It was her walk. His heart pounded. He stood up, took a step forward, the street lamp flickered, and then... No. It wasn't her. Just a stranger. His shoulders dropped. And with that, the last piece of hope cracked. He sat again, letting the rain hit his face. For the first time that night, he allowed himself to say it. Out loud. Quietly. Painfully. She's not coming. It was almost 10 p.m. The streets were quieter now. The rain was heavier. And he was still sitting there. Alone. He wiped his face with his sleeve, but the rain kept coming, masking the tears, hiding the pain. Istanbul didn't care. It kept moving, kept raining, kept breathing. But Can? He had frozen in that moment, in the waiting. He reached back into his pocket, pulling out the notebook again. Pages soaked. Ink smudged. But the words still mattered. He flipped to one of the last pages, a quote he had written after their last fight. If silence is safer, why does it hurt so much? They hadn't even meant to argue that day. They were supposed to meet for coffee, to talk, to clear the air after weeks of distance. But something in the way she looked at him that day, it wasn't her. Or maybe it was, and he just didn't want to see it. He had reached for her hand across the table. She had pulled away. We can't keep pretending, Can. Then say it. We've become strangers. He had laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was true. Strangers don't write each other poems. Strangers don't remember birthdays without reminders. Strangers don't hold on when they should have let go. That was the last thing she said that day. Now, under the same gray sky, Can whispered what he didn't say then. I didn't want to let go. He reached the Bosphorus. The sea was restless. Waves crashing against the shore, echoing the storm inside him. His phone buzzed. An unknown number. One message. I thought about coming. I saw you. But I couldn't walk closer. I'm sorry. It was her. She had been there. She saw him. And she still walked away. His phone slipped and fell into a puddle. And something inside him collapsed too. Not anger. Not betrayal. Just acceptance. He slowly sat by the water's edge, notebook in hand. This wasn't a love story waiting to be rewritten. This was a chapter ending. Not with a scream. Not with a kiss. But with silence. He climbed the stairs to their old rooftop, the place above the bookstore. There, under the stars, he wrote. Tonight I waited. Not for an answer, for a sign that I still mattered. And your silence gave me the answer I didn't want. But maybe the one I needed. You were always the fire in my winter. But tonight, you were the wind. Cold. Distant. Gone. He looked at the city one last time. Lights. Boats. Towers. Her absence. And whispered, "Goodbye, Demet." As he walked away from the rooftop, from the bench, from the waiting. He didn't know where he was going next. But he knew what he was leaving behind. A memory. A ghost. A love that could never be again.